Yeah, yeah.
Coming up next on Mental Health Matters with Marty, ADHD and our kids. You gotta stay tuned. See you in a minute. What's up, everybody? Hey, it's Martina Sellers, your mental health hygienist, coming to you live and, of course, in living color in Southern California, where the sun is always shining. We can't say anymore, it never rains in Southern California. It rained last night. We are so glad because we needed it. Hey, y'all, what's going on? How you feeling? What you up to? What's going on? We have such an important show tonight that we want you to join in on. We want you to get every parent right now on the line and tell them to join in because we got some information that we want to share with you, especially as our kids return back to school and dealing with COVID and dealing with just getting back reaccompanied and readjusted to the school climate. But you know how we do on Mental Health Matters with Marty. Let's share this. Mental Health Matters with Marty is intended for psychoeducational purposes and psychoeducational purposes only. Why? Because we want to help expand and erase the stigma and the negative stigma that we have in our communities of color as it pertains to mental health and mental health illness. Now, let me share this. We are not a substitute. We are not a substitute for your therapist. We are not a substitute for your group counseling. We are not a substitute for any type of medical concerns what you have whatsoever. However, note that, comma, we are a supplement. In other words, we're here to aid you. We're here to help be a part of your treatment plan in your journey to health and wellness. If you are experiencing any type of psychotropic, any type of psychiatric or mental health challenges or illnesses that are in need of immediate service, please contact your nearest urgent care or dial 911 for further assistance. But with that being said, what's going on, everybody? Listen, do me a favor. Get involved. Oh, listen, Paula, how are you? Listen, good to see you. Hope everything is doing well out there in Connecticut, darling. Can't wait to finally meet you in person. So glad that you're on here tonight. But how do we get engaged? Just like Paula did. How do we see your comments? Because Paula is on it, and we appreciate her. And giving my love out to Mrs. Mitchell, because we know you are watching as well. But how do you get engaged? You watch it via our Mental Health Matters with Marty page on Facebook or on our YouTube page at Marcel Media Group. That's a correction. Marcel Media Group on YouTube and Mental Health Matters with Marty on Facebook. We are not ignoring you if you do engage on the other formats. However, on my personal page or on Marcel Consulting, we won't see your comments. So we definitely have a lively show ahead of you today, and we want you to comment on that. What's today's topic? Today's topic is this. Hey, man, how you doing out there? How's everything going? Hope you're doing well. What is today's topic, Darren? Daryl, I'm all cooped up and messed up today. Can't get anything. ADHD is my superpower. power. Yes, how to support and engage and empower our children who have ADHD. Apparently, mine is kicking in big time today because it's hard for me to concentrate with that. How do we do that? And I love that we wanted to entitle this Behind the Book of our first guest that's coming on today. I just love her, and she's done so many amazing things. She was one of my young people when I was doing youth ministry at at my former church at Friendship Baptist Church in Yorba Linda, but she has now come into her own. She is not a stranger to the show because she's been on here about 4, 5, 10 times, and she just keeps coming back every time I ask her. So can we, as a reoccurring guest on the Mental Health Matters with Marty show, none other than the amazing Miss Alana Moore. Alana, how are you, darling?
That's
right.
Hey, no.
Hey, yes.
I'm good. How are you?
You know, we're doing all right. It is always good seeing you, and hope all is doing well.
Yes, everything's going very well. I'm excited about this month. I'm excited to talk about this topic. So.
Yes, because October is ADHD Awareness Month. And when we're talking about ADHD, for those who might, one of the former names used to be ADD. But we put the H in there now. So it is attention deficit and hyperactivity. That's the H, hyperactivity disorder when we're talking about that. But before we go there, Alana, for those who don't know who you are and how amazing you are, share with us once again for the newbies and those who have been seeing us but forgot exactly what you do. Talk to us, Alana.
All right. So my name is Alana. The APCC by my name just basically means that I'm a professional clinical counselor, almost licensed. I'm excited. And so I'm excited about that. And so I work with young adults and families, and I love therapy. But it also says author because I wrote a book just based on me being inspired by my son called ADHD is My Superpower. So I am a counselor and an author.
Yes. And more than that, there we go. I love it. That's right, Daryl. Show us ADHD. Yes, make sure that you all go on Amazon and pick that up. Pick up that book. You have to. It's an amazing book to share with your children so that they are not feeling isolated, that they don't feel attacked, because you know how we put labels on children, and those labels last, and they remember those labels that we put on them. You're ADHD, you're bad, you're ADHD, you're ADD, you're oppositional, you got conduct disorder. Alana, first talk to us about this label of ADHD. I'm a believer that we have misused it and used it as a weapon instead of, like you say, a superpower for children. Can you share some of your story about why? I love the cover. That's right, Paula. I love it too. Got our little black boy standing there with his Superman cape. That's right. Alana, share your story and why this is such a passion of yours, advocating for our children, especially our young boys who have been diagnosed with ADHD.
Absolutely. So it does break my heart to know that when people say or hear ADHD, they think of it as marginalizing, and it's sad because it's really sad because we didn't do that to ourselves. The school system in general has used that label to limit, us, our people, has used that to limit us and limit our opportunities and limit our experiences in education and professional opportunities with misusing ADHD. And so now, even when my son was diagnosed at 3, even, people in my support system, they thought of ADHD as very negative. They thought of it as, your son doesn't have ADHD. Oh, he just had, and I'm like, no. He has ADHD, and that's okay. We need to be okay with, that label, because there's so many positives to it. And so I'm disheartened that the school system has used it to push our children in special education classrooms unnecessarily and all of these different things. But in my experience, when my son was going through it in school, they literally said, oh, he's diagnosed with ADHD. Well, we can use that as a reason to put him out of our classroom instead of highlighting his strengths, meeting him where he's at, and empowering him. And that's why I'm like, do you literally look at children with ADHD and think that this is all they are? And why is ADHD a bad thing? I always think, like, why do people see it as such a bad thing? There's so many strengths to it, but we have been trained to think of it negatively because of how our Black boys and girls are either misdiagnosed or given that label and then just misrepresented for it. So I'm very passionate about highlighting its strengths.
I love it.
My son has great strengths, and so does anybody else with ADHD that I've seen, worked with, and so anyway, it is a superpower and it has a lot of strengths. I know it has its challenges. I don't want to negate that, but we can't just focus on that, and we have to be okay with saying I have ADHD. And so that's why I'm big on this.
I love it. Thank you for advocating for your son. Can we just go for a quick second and be a little bit on the clinical side for those who may not understand what it is in its definition? So when we're talking about, sorry, I'm doing a couple things here, make sure. When we're talking about ADHD, we're really measuring two areas of it. We're measuring the inattentiveness, them being inattentive, and then also the hyperactivity and the impulsivity. So we're looking at that. We're some of the main signs that we're looking at short attention spans. That's not how many adults do we know have short attention spans?
Right.
So we want to talk about that. They're always rushing and making some careless mistakes. They appear to as if they are losing things or things are disorganized, unable to stick to and complete tasks. They appear, and that's the operative word, they appear to be not listening when they actually are. They're constantly changing activities. They have poor organizational skills, but some of us have poor organizational skills. They're unable to keep still, constantly fidgeting. I've been fidgeting since I've been on here, unable to concentrate. So these are some of the traits that we're looking at. And a true ADHD, this has to be exhibited in home or outside other activities, and usually in the school simultaneously. So they're happening more than in just one arena, because if it's only happening at school, then that's a red flag. If it's only happening at home, that's a red flag. But if it's happening at home and at school, then we need to kind of pay attention to that.
Right.
Yeah. And that's kind of been is there anything that you want to add that maybe I missed or left out on, or even in your own experience?
Yeah, so I just wanted to expand on the notion of ADHD being inattention. What I've noticed is they appear, like you said, to be inattentive because they're focused on so many things. So they're not trying not to pay attention, but their mind is running faster than even their physical. Those that have ADHD, the hyperactivity, we see them, very active, but their mind is going faster than that. And so they're not trying not to pay attention. They just notice a lot of things that we do not, neurotypical people do not notice, And so I feel like they're just paying attention to a lot of different things. I don't think that they're inattentive.
Yes. Damien says this: I wish our community knew more about this in the 70s when I was a kid. I believe school and learning would have been totally different from me. I totally agree. And you're right. And that's why I put in air quotes, appears to be, because they actually are focused. They're just not focused on what you want them to focus on. Doesn't mean they're not focused they're focused on several things. And it's almost like, I say that for that hamster on the wheel that is just running, and they're running after this idea and they're running after that idea. I always say this: a lot of times their brain works faster than what we as adults want it to.
Right.
And we can't handle it. So we're actually mad. Right. And so we want to punish the kid because we can't keep up with their thoughts and their actions. So I get it. I'm a visionary, and I know I probably had some ADHD growing up, but even my staff complained. that I throw too many ideas down. So I start to organize. That's why I have this right here. This is my little cheat, because I have to organize my thoughts, because if not, they will go all over the place. And those are some of the tools we're going to teach some of the parents tonight with us. Alana, thank you so much. Listen, I want to bring on, for the first time on this show, a African-American male kindergarten teacher. I'm so excited to have this guest on the show tonight. This is his first time on the Mental Health Matters with Marty show, but it definitely will not be his last. And as a Black professional male teacher, they represent 2%. Hear me when I say this, y'all. 2% of the educational field. And that's why I'm so glad to have him on the show tonight. So welcome with me for the very first time, but not the last time, on the Mental Health Matters with Marty show, none other than Kenneth Sheppard. Kenneth.
Hello, everyone. How you doing?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Welcome to the show, man. Welcome to the show. Listen, introduce yourself. Tell us what you do, and I know you have passion for this population group. So introduce yourself and tell us what you do and why your passion.
My name is Kenneth Sheppard. I am a kindergarten teacher here in Dallas, Texas. This is technically my second year teaching, but I guess on paper it would be my first, because last year I did my student teaching, but I did not have a host teacher, so was in a classroom by myself, and I taught kindergarten as well. So, but technically, like I said, this year's my first year. I've worked with children, I can say, for the last 17 years. First job when I graduated from college, I worked for Child Protective Services in New Orleans, and so just kind of each job after that, in social work, it was always something centered around children. I sit on the board of directors for an organization here called Hope for Solutions, which advocates for mothers who basically have gotten over substance abuse issues, lost their children in the system, get their children back. So we house them, put them in apartments. So just kind of pretty much support the mothers and their children. So, but I've just always had just a passion, I guess, for kids, and a lot of people, those who are close to me, they know, even when I was a child, I ended up in the system, was adopted by my parents now. And so I don't know if it's something that just stuck or what, but it's just like children are my soft spot. Those are, because I feel like a lot of them cannot advocate for themselves. So they need someone, to actually really make stuff happen for them.
Wow. Well, Kenneth, thank you for sharing. And listen, we salute you as a Black male teacher, but then even more so, a Black male kindergarten teacher. Wow. Alana, talk to us. What if your son had Kenneth as, Mr. Sheppard, as they would say, says, I'm sharing, this is empowering. Thank you, Courtney. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. What difference would it have made in your son's life? And even when you're dealing with him with education, had he had a Mr. Sheppard in his life from an early age?
It would have made a world of difference. And the reason that I said that is because when he was entering into the elementary school and the pre-K, he definitely was misperceived. They knew he had the label. He was misperceived. He was pushed out. And I feel that if he would have had you as a teacher, there would have been the relatability. You have the patience and the love and the passion, and that matters so much. And so I just think he would have seen it as, I am somebody, I am special, rather than I'm constantly being taken out of class. And, what is wrong with me? He would have seen it as like, he would have found his place, in education. I think if he would have had your leadership and guidance of a Black male teacher, I think that's phenomenal. So it would have made a
Isn't that
world of difference.
phenomenal?
Thank you.
And definitely we want to challenge more of you who are in college, your children who are in going to college. Listen, pursue education, become teachers, become therapists, because Kenneth represents 1% of the teaching population. I represent he represents 2% of the teaching population, rather. I represent 1% of the therapy population, and probably across the board, if we put both men and women in both the teaching profession and in the therapeutic profession, as you know, Alana, we probably just represent 4% of the field. And so, where do our children go? And they understand us. Where do our children go and they feel safe with that and those regards? So, Kenneth, talk to us about. If I'm going to shift the subject just a tiny bit.
Mm-hmm.
Your role as a Black male teacher, especially on the elementary level, how is that for you, and what are some of the challenges that you face in that role?
I think that for me, it's really nothing. It's a new experience, trust me, but it's nothing
Okay.
really different than I've dealt with
Okay.
before. But I would say some
Okay.
challenges, and a lot of it even comes from, coworkers. A
Yes.
lot of them always, and I think I shared this story with you. I was in
Right.
Lakeshore Learning, which is it's
Mhm.
a store here for teachers. And so I was
Right.
standing in line, buying some stuff for my classroom. Lady
Right.
behind me was a high school teacher, and so
Mhm.
she was like, what grade do you teach? So I teach kindergarten. She was like, you are lying. I was like, no. I said, I teach kindergarten. And she said, I thought you were like a coach, or you taught high school. And I
Yeah.
get a lot of, oh, I thought you were a
Right.
coach, or at least I
Right.
thought you taught high school or something like that.
Right.
It's almost like they look at Black men as if we cannot teach kindergarten. But I think one thing that is so surprising to a lot of my coworkers, a lot of them tell me all the time, you're just so patient. You're so patient. It's like you have to be. I think that when you
Mm.
actually understand how they say it, when you understand your assignment and while you're actually there, you have no
Come
choice
on.
but to be patient with these kids. People were
Right.
patient with us. I was a
Come
terrible
on.
student in elementary, junior high, high school. I was terrible. And I had teachers that were patient with me. And so I just want to make sure that I
Mm.
do the same thing. But I think that my genuine love for just kids across the board. And it's not just Black kids, white kids, Hispanic kids, it's just children across the board.
Right.
I don't treat any of them any differently, but you just have to have that love for those kids. And even just listening to, you talking about your son, I have a
Mhm.
student in my class now experiencing the same thing. And like you
Mm.
even explained, they have so many other wonderful things inside of them.
Mhm.
I'm not going to lie
Mhm.
to you. This young man is very challenging. I'm very patient with him, but he pushes a lot of my buttons. But a lot of times I can pull him aside and tell him to sit down,
Right.
and maybe just whisper something, and he's going to sit down. When the
Right.
principal or other people are talking to him, he acts like they're not even speaking to him. It goes in one ear and out the other. But I'll tell you the wonderful thing about this young man. He reads on a third grade level. He reads better than some of the
Wow.
fifth graders in our school. And
Wow.
so everybody's starting to find this out slowly but surely. And it's like last week, he read to the class, and even the other kids in the class, I won't say his name, but they're like, oh my God, he just read that book. He just read that book. Yes, he just sat here and read this book to you guys from beginning to end. And so it's like now they're not so
Amazing.
fast to want to put him out of school and want to suspend him. They're trying to find other ways around it, but he is extremely intelligent. And so that's just one of the things where he's active,
Mm.
he's very impulsive, but you cannot discount how smart this young man is at all.
Wow.
And he's
That's
5.
amazing. And 5 reading like that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I love it because, Alana, I think that speaks to what you were saying earlier. Finding the passion, affirming them right where they're at, and empowering them in their
Right.
strength. So
Right.
now they have trusted you, and they entrust you to guide them in the right direction. So when they do get a little out of line, you're like, come here, Johnny. Johnny, look at me.
Right.
Let's talk. Yes, yes. And Lana, we were offline, but please share your story again. You briefly hinted on it this when I introduced you about for those who may not have heard your story about your son and what the system, and I'm saying that in again air quotes with the educational system, because we as parents, let me say this loud and clear, we as parents have to advocate and be the voice that our children don't know how, when they don't know how to advocate for themselves. Affirmation is important. Lauren, you're so right about the affirmation is so important. But why was it so important that you advocated for your son? Because they did not even know what kind of education level that you had. And so they kind of wrote you off as well.
Right. Definitely. And so, yeah, definitely. So when he was in pre-K, he was about 4 years old, almost 5. He entered into the elementary school system the year before kindergarten. He was, just like you're saying, Kenneth, he was very active. And I know that. I know things about him where, yes, he's active. Yes, he has impulsivity, but he's 4, almost 5. And you're right. It can and will be a challenge at times, but for people that truly care about you and are passionate, that's why I think it speaks to what you were saying, where he's able to, that student is able to listen to you and trust you. When even with those behaviors, when they listen to you and they know that you truly care about them, they know how to act and and behave. And so anyway, he went into the school system, and they were calling me and saying, like, we're noticing all of these different behaviors. And so I was trying to be as supportive as possible and say, yes, he has an ADHD diagnosis. I provided them all that paperwork. And I said, can we get an IEP in place for some support, maybe behavioral support or something of that nature? The principal said, he doesn't need that. He's suspended. He's just acting unruly. And I said, well, if you know he has ADHD,
slow down. I just want to make sure that everyone heard this. They wanted to suspend a 4-year-old because he was being a boy and being active.
Yes. 4 years old. And he got suspended, by the way. He didn't even just want to. He got suspended. And so, And so my heart broke for that, because there were other children in the class that I was made aware of that had some of the same difficulties. But because we're in the minority, they saw it and they labeled it as, we've never seen this before. He's very aggressive. And I'm thinking, well, he's in church settings and he's doing well in social settings. He goes to extracurriculars and he's doing well. So what's happening here at the school, and what can I do to be of support? But they did not want to keep him in the school. They did not want to keep him in the district. They just made some very rude comments. And so, but I think they assumed that I didn't have the knowledge of how to advocate. A 4-year-old. Yeah. So I just think they assumed that I didn't have the knowledge of how to advocate for my son. And so I told them, I have a bachelor's in early childhood education. I have a master's in counseling. And I'm, I know what's supposed to be in place. And so I consulted with a special education attorney. I told them that, and they were like, oh, okay, we'll get the IEP.
Wait a minute.
All of that. Yeah, all scared and stuff. Which is disheartening, because I never got a call after that. Like, after they knew that we were going to advocate, and my dad would show up to the school and say, can I talk to you? And his dad would show up to the meetings and all that. They thought, okay, they're serious. But it's unfortunate that they were trying to get over on us and put him in a sped classroom, where my son, like you were saying, is very smart, very brilliant. He doesn't have any need to be in a classroom that's, marginalizing him when he doesn't need to be there. There's some people that benefit from that, but he didn't need to be placed there. They just wanted him to be out of their classroom. So anyway, I went through all that. I advocated, and he's been doing great for 2 years, but it was a journey. But I wanted him to know, like, you are special, you are important, you are amazing. And so I just had to change that negative stigma on ADHD, because I know that he knows that he has it, but I wanted him to see it as like, yeah, I got ADHD, not like, oh, I have ADHD, so I just want to highlight the strengths.
Yes, Portia Scott. Hello, darling. We appreciate you, darling. Portia goes, my heart breaks for the children and parents that don't even know how to advocate for their children because they don't know there are resources available to help. Portia, you are absolutely right, and that's why we want to do this so that we show people the journey, that they even question us because they don't look at our credentials first. They look at the color of our skin. Come on, and
Mhm.
what they perceive that we're not going to do for our children. That's why everyone on this panel tonight, I deem them, and they're already advocates for them. Says, never mind your degree, you were a mom. See, that's what I'm talking. That is oftentimes what is missing. Lauren, thank you
I
so much.
agree.
You're absolutely right. That's what's missing. And with that, Kenneth, talk to us about when you see this, maybe some of the challenges that you see from an internal educational purposes, and maybe even from the parents, them just not understanding the resources that they do have available.
This young man that I was speaking about, his parents, they're aware of what he
Okay,
does in class, and they're actually very involved. But there are other
nice.
students whose parents are not, and I think a lot of
Yes.
that has to do with COVID. But the
Okay.
kids in my class, I have a lot of young parents, so
Okay.
they're not really, they're just not aware of ADHD, and like she was saying, this is absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. But unfortunately,
Right.
everyone looks at it like, you know, it's like a stigma. And, of
Mm-hmm.
course, the kids don't want to be in sped because, the other kids pick on them, regardless of how smart they may be. But a lot of
Right.
parents don't even, I've had, school has been, what, 7 weeks? I've had
Mm-hmm.
maybe half of my parents who I haven't even talked to, don't know what's going on.
Wow.
I talked to one parent last week, and this is a little black girl. Talked to her mom
Mm-hmm.
last week, and when she found out that I was actually a black male, she was very excited. Kind of explained to me, things that her daughter, things that she'll do in class, and we had a long conversation. And she just kind of said, anytime I have issues, with her daughter, to just reach out to her and call her. I would
Mm-hmm.
say maybe about 10% of the, maybe 15% of the students in my class are African American. And
Okay.
unfortunately, those are the only parents that I really talk to a lot. The other half is Hispanic. Um,
Mm-hmm.
some of them, but then there is that language barrier that
Okay.
sometimes, I have one student, a little Hispanic guy. I talked to the principal, talked to other Hispanic teachers about him. And it's almost like, when you bring something like that to their attention, and I don't want to say
Mm-hmm.
about their own, but it's almost like, okay, we'll take care of it. And you just kind of never
Mm.
hear anything about it again. The parents don't, I'm his teacher, but they don't contact me. They contact the other kindergarten teacher,
Wow.
because she's a Hispanic lady. So honestly, I've learned to, haven't been at the school long, but I've learned to, pick what battles. And so I see what my focus is. And honestly,
Right.
I have three little black boys in my class, and all three of them are kind of dealing with issues like this. They're trying to test them, just to see what they can, or what do they have. They've already kind of
Mm-hmm.
attached ADHD to one of my students, but this is my
Right.
thing. When these kids are 4 and 5 years old, and I think you've already
Yes.
said it, what 4 or 5 year old is not hyper,
Yes.
impulsive. And so it's just
Yes.
like, that's why you just have to be patient. I know it
Mm-hmm.
won't be, because I can even see things have gotten a lot better than they were, but that stuff
Mm-hmm.
does not happen overnight. And so you just have to be
Mm-hmm.
patient, you
Mhm.
have to be diligent, and things will just happen, when they happen. You cannot set a date. And unfortunately, in the school system, a lot,
Right.
they put these time frames, this should happen, in this time
Mhm.
frame, or this is going to
Right.
happen at
Mhm.
this time. And this does not happen like this. And it's like, if it doesn't, then they're looking, like she said, to either suspend the students, put them in sped. Literally
Wow.
every morning, the assistant principal came in this morning asking me about this young man. And, I'm not going to sit there, even if he just got on my nerves yesterday. I'm not going to sit there and tell her, he's just horrible. He's this, I'm gonna make it better, so because I don't want her running back and trying, everything is a paper trail now,
Right.
for students. If
Right.
they have a paper trail on you, it is much easier for them to just get rid of them
That's
or
good.
to just put them in
Mhm.
Wow.
sped classes.
Wow. And we're talking
Mhm.
about SPED, we're talking about special education classes for
Special
those who might,
education,
might do
yes.
right. And I love that because you are saying, listen, let's advocate for him. Let's look at his strengths. Let's not just label him because and I love what you said too, because y'all, I know I should not have a kindergartner, but I do. And she's learning at a different pace. And what brought me great comfort, Kenneth and Alana, was when she said, Tony's going to learn differently. Give her time to learn at her pace. She is doing just fine. Does she struggle sometimes with paying attention? Sure. What 5-year old doesn't? Is she maybe not doing this area where maybe 3 or 4 other students? Sure. What child doesn't? They're not perfect. And she says, listen, it's about enjoying the educational process
Mhm.
in kindergarten and first grade. And let's not
Yep.
Mhm.
pressurize them to have to hit these certain standards that are impossible, that only 10% may be hit. But let's have them to enjoy the process and be children. What a concept. What a concept.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Alana.
Absolutely. Can I speak to that? Yeah. I
Please.
was gonna say that on tonight. About because that's what I've learned as a parent. Is just we have these expectations. Oh, they should be,
Right.
at this level in education, or they should be at this level in this sport. What I have particularly learned is I'm just proud when my child like tries, when he tries hard
Yes.
at something. And I
Yes.
and it's not easy for him to write neatly and slow down and write
Right.
really neatly or do math and things like that, because he has to be more patient, because he does have a lot of impulsivity. He does have
Right.
racing thoughts. So for him to slow down and write neatly, I'm just happy that he tried to do that,
Right.
and I've learned that as a parent. It's like, I'm just going to praise you and encourage you where you're at, because I'm just happy that I see that you're giving the effort that you're giving, And so I think that's
Yes.
what keeps him motivated, rather than saying, no, you need to be here. No, let him get there, but praise where they're at, praise what they're good at. Like, oh, you wrote that letter really good. That's awesome.
Mhm.
And he gets excited when I do that, even though it's a small thing to some people. That's big for him, because he took time to slow his mind down and get that done. And so I just wanted to comment on that. And even in sports and extracurriculars and things like that, I'm the same way, where it's like, if you get the routine down, I'm not worried so much about the skill. I'm just happy that you're trying. You'll get there.
Mhm.
Those things will
Exactly.
come, but just meet them where they're at. So I wanted to say that.
That is so perfect, because you is a perfect segue into now. Let's talk to our parents, and let's kind of jump around. I got a couple things that we want to. How do we, if we have children with ADHD, how do we support them? How do we help them? Alana, you said it perfectly. Let's praise them for their accomplishments. Let's highlight the things they're doing right versus the things they're doing wrong. Now think about it. We don't have a Mr. Sheppard who is praising them for doing the right things. So by the time the kids get home, they already have a negative report from a teacher who is not supporting them, who is probably trying to get them out of their classroom, who wants to say, just throw them over here in the special education class so I don't have to deal with them. What are some things that we can do? I love, Alana, that you said, first and foremost, we can praise them for what they're doing right. And even if they're just write their name and it's neat, going overboard with it. I love that. Some other things we can do. I said, maybe we help them set clear boundaries in certain
Mhm.
things by saying, this is what I want you to do. Can you do that? And walk alongside them and say, great job, you did it. Oh, I'm so proud of
Yeah.
you with that. Kenneth, what are some other things that you do in your classroom with helping those particular children?
I do the two things that you guys just mentioned, but also I maybe to put things into perspective. I
Mm-hmm.
have 30. 33 kids in my
Lord
class.
have wait, 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 wait,
33.
wait, wait. You have 30.
Mm-hmm.
What,
33 5-year-olds.
you have 33 5-year now by yourself?
Mostly by myself. They may send a teacher's aide, and they're like maybe 2 days a
Okay.
week.
I need y'all to hit the Cash App and a love offertory now for because whatever they're giving you is not enough money. Listen, I might have put in my resignation. Y'all pray my strength in the Lord in these last and evil COVID school days because I couldn't do with 33 5-year-olds. God bless you. Woo! Okay, so you were saying
no, it's difficult, but you like I say, you know why you're there. So you just make it happen.
Right.
But you constantly, I think that is the most important thing. Constantly praise them for what they are doing.
Right. Right.
We routine is very important in kindergarten, and we do the same thing, especially
That's
when it
it.
comes to phonics. When it comes to
That's
phonics and
it.
ABCs, every morning the same thing. But I still have some kids who still don't know their ABCs, still can't get past a certain letter. But I had one today, was just able to go up to the letter F. And I made a big, huge spectacle out of that, gave
Yes.
him 2 Snickers, because it's like he was excited about it. And so I just
Yes.
think that is the most important. Like you said, walking them through as far as what your expectations are, just kind of walk with them. But I just think first, just make sure that they are able to do that. Make sure they're willing to do it. Most of the time, if they're just willing to try, and I told them that today, you may not get it right. Just try. Try to do it. If I see that you're
Yes.
putting in some effort, then that is all that takes. We will get there eventually. One thing tomorrow, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if they do this in California, but I have 2 standardized tests. Now, again, these are standardized tests for kindergartners that I have to administer on tomorrow. I and hate is a strong word, but I hate it. And because I don't think that they should be tested at 4 and 5
Not in
years old
kindergarten.
to see where they are. And most of these kids missed pre-K last year because of COVID. So a lot of them were
Right.
not learning anything at home. So you're going to
Right.
test them, and we're going to collect this data and to see where they are. And I don't like
And it's
that.
going to be
So
skewed.
even
Yes.
yes. And so today before we left, I've been talking to him all day about these tests that we have tomorrow. And Marty, like I'm the snack man, basically. I provide snacks for a lot of the kids that don't have snacks. And so
Right.
they're like, okay, well, we take the test, we do this, we're going to get a snack. I think that, just some type of incentive for every little thing that they do, especially if they're trying. It could be an
Right. Right.
eraser. I bought
Right.
these little pencil holders. You put it in the pencil, and it kind of, shows them how to. I give those out, but I have a drawer full of Rice Krispie treats and M&Ms. So it's like they know if they really, really, are trying and they're doing something. I give them a snack. I don't mind. I just think reward every little thing that they do, everything that they try to do, because if you just constantly beat them down in class, we don't know what these kids are going home to at all. So
You are
my
so
thing
right
is,
on point with all that. Mm-hmm.
while they're in the class with me, I just want to make sure that this is the best 8 hours, of their day. They go home. We
Wow.
have no control or no say so over what happens, but just when they're in that classroom with me, I just want to make sure that they're happy and they feel like they're making a difference and they're doing something.
Wow, that's amazing. I love it because you talked about routines, because routines are very, very important. That they get up at a certain time, they go to bed at a certain time, they eat at a certain time, they do this at a certain time, because now you're helping to program. Incentivize and snacks are great motivations. They are, Jerron. See, we got to have that. Then you also talked about praising them and also incentivizing them. All those are excellent motivations and how to help our children who have ADHD normalize what we like to say normalize. In other words, we're trying to put them into our box when they don't want to be in our box, but it helps them to be socially accepted in some other things. Alana, any other suggestions that you have for parents and how to assist them with that? What are some other tools that you do and use?
So I want to first say that I go alongside of what the teachers do, like what you said with routine. That is something last year that his teacher told me
Okay.
that was really helpful, is like to maintain like a healthy routine. And so what I do at
Yes.
home is we have our own routine here, and
Okay.
he knows exactly like,
Yep.
and I give him some autonomy in that. And like, do you want to brush your teeth first? Or do you want to put on, take a shower first? I give him autonomy with that, but he knows the routine. So when we're in our home, it's like he knows what's expected of him. He knows that when we come home, we're going to do homework. And I know that homework is something that is difficult because it, requires a lot of focus. Not that he doesn't know how to do it because he's very smart, but it requires focus. So like Kenneth said, I have these little fruit snacks, and every time he does something, I get really hype, and I'm like, yes, that's so neatly. Here you go. And he gets excited, and then he starts doing it really well on his own. And so I definitely do that at home. But some other things that I just do at home, just because I know that he's active and everything like that, I just engage him in things that he loves to do. He loves running outside. And so if he can have a safe space to run at the park or the beach, I let him do that all day because that's what he wants to do. Right. And so I got to keep up
physical
with him.
Activity is so good.
Yes. Yeah. Sports and stuff. I've signed him up for. Yeah, absolutely. It definitely helps. Like he just got in soccer and he loves it. It's just run. It's a bunch of running and kicking and stuff. And so put him in that and he's happy, And so I just like to do things that make him happy. I like to let him know that, if things are challenging, like you said, I am right here, and I will help you get there. But I want to empower him to have the confidence to do things on his own. So that's why I praise him for the little things, like you were saying, because if you're constantly like, hey, you're not doing this right, he hears that enough. And so he doesn't, and he's already hard on himself. People with children with ADHD often have like higher self-blame, so they know that they're making mistakes. So we gotta encourage them and say, that's okay though, that's all right, and and praise their positives. And so that's what I do a little bit at home.
That is so amazing. And I like that. And I even like to suggest to parents giving a daily goal, and we incentivize it. Like you're saying, maybe Kenneth is one of those little erasers or something. We have weekly goals when they've done it so many times. They don't have to have it perfect, but maybe they're doing it 4 out of 7 days. That's better than 50%. They do it 5 out of 7 days. And then we have possibly even some monthly goals, and we're putting those on the calendar, on the refrigerator, where they're getting the gold star or whatever that is, because that incentivizes them. It's just the little things that we can do that are consistent, that are routine, that becomes, we think it's regimented. It's probably more work for we as the parents, but it does so much to change the neurological pathways in their mind, so that they're now learning how to accept the ADHD, but learning how to use it as Alana says, my superpower. Yes, set a goal per day. That's good. Yes. And
I
y'all
like
know that Jerron is a therapist as well. So we shout out to Jerron and all that he's doing. But these are great things that you can do. Real quick, time always escapes us. It goes by so fast. Alana, I know you have your book close by. You have your book close by?
Today I don't have it right here.
That's okay. That's okay.
You guys, sorry guys. Can you guys flash it on the screen? Anyway, my book is called.
Yes.
It's called ADHD is My Superpower. Yes. So please, it's on Amazon. It just talks about the strengths such as like hyper focus, creativity, a bright personality. They are so funny. Just so it just talks about some of their strengths and how they really appreciate when you're patient with them. When you meet them where they're at, they appreciate when you're patient with them. And so I just based off my son's life, but I'm glad a lot of people that do have kids with ADHD really resonated with it. And so if you do, or if you know someone or you know some teachers, It is on Amazon.
I've read it to
Yeah.
my daughter, and she loves, 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 loves it. And then Ken, yep, that's it, that's it. And Ken is always buying books and for his classroom and everything. So yes, yes. And we want last thing I want to just kind of hit on upon is definitely some if you need professional treatment, some other things that you can do. You can always call y'all amazing professional therapists and counselors such as Alana, or those who specialize in child therapy, because they do have those therapists who specialize in child therapy. You can contact your school and talk to the school counselors and get a program or a treatment plan together so that you can talk through those things. You can have them assessed. And if you don't want like the assessment of the school, there are private psychologists and counselors who can do it for you as well so that you can match up that. You can also give an informed consent so that your outside therapist can talk to the teacher, that your outside therapist can talk to the behavioral therapist or what have you at the school as well, so that you're all working in concert with everything to help the child. It is all about our children. Other things that I want to suggest, there are supplements that they're saying, such as omega-3s and omega-6 supplements that work very well with that as well. You can change the diet by getting more greens in their system. Tony fights me. The only green thing she will eat is edamame. Now, how she skip everything else and go straight to edamame, I don't know. But we do what we can. And finally, you can always talk to your pediatrician. Now, you don't have to do the recommendation. So I'm not a psychiatrist. I am not pharmacology is not my major or anything, but you have a right as parents to talk to your primary care or the psychiatrist about the medication. You have a right to understand all of the side effects. You have a right to challenge it. You have a right to say, hey, how can we slowly put them on it? Because oftentimes we want to put them on the wrong doses way too fast. And because your kid should not be a zombie, your kid's personality should still come out. If they're on the medication and they're zombies, that means that medication is too strong. And so talk. And these are the conversations I want to have, and always have this platform to do that. So we're sharing those type of things to make sure we are doing the right things as it pertains to our children with that. So Alana, before we close, how can our viewers give us your parting words about what you want to say about ADHD and it being a superpower, and how can our people follow you? How can they get the book and become a instant fan? Because Alana's going to be, she doesn't know it yet, but she's going to be doing a podcast starting in January dealing with ADHD is my superpower, featuring Alana Moore. So how can we follow you and get ready to follow you on your podcast as well?
I have a Facebook page for the book. It's called ADHD is My Superpower. So I share some highlights about the book there. But my Instagram handle is No More Chains, NOMOORE. So my last name, Chains. And so it has my book link on there. It has a lot of book highlights. It has podcasts that I've been on in the past and things like that. Because I do love to talk about mental health in general, but I definitely love talking about ADHD. And so, yeah, my biggest thing is to just say, be patient as you can, with your children or students, if you're a teacher, or your clients, and really just highlight those strengths. There are so many there. And I know we can tend to focus on what is not going right, but just focus on what is right, and you'll see a lot more come out of them when you do that. And so, yeah.
Alana, look, Kenneth, don't you think that Alana doing a podcast like that would be so dope, in that it would help educators, it would help parents? It's what we need. It is.
Yeah, I think it would be wonderful.
Yeah, I agree.
Don't run from it.
Thank you.
Make it happen.
Make it happen. Come on, Alana. That's what we do here on the Mental Health Matters with Marty show. Listen, we empower people to walk in their purpose because that's what you're doing. Your book is amazing. I am so proud of you and feel like a godfather in the regards that I've known you since you were a teenager, and just to see that you've done this amazing work. Again, I am so proud of you and salute you with all you're doing, and just want to encourage you, keep doing what you're doing. And you are always welcome on our show anytime if you just want to. See, look, you got a fan club. Come on, say, let's go, Alana. Said, we need that. He's right. Especially advocating for our communities, for our boys. Hello, Auntie. How are you? See, you told me you were coming on, but that's what we need, Alana. So again, thank you. And as always, Mr. Kenneth Sheppard, what are your parting words, and what advice would you want to give parents for their children, and how do we get a hold of you and follow you on your social media handles?
Well, I guess the only advice I would give is just to pay attention, pay attention to the signs. Do not run, I guess, with the first diagnosis that you may get, even if you do get a diagnosis. Just pay attention, do your own research when it comes to ADHD and any other mental illness for that matter. Just do your own research. But I guess I appreciate, this opportunity. I've had a wonderful time. Alana, it has been a pleasure speaking with you and talking with you on here. And I have Facebook and Instagram, nothing major, I guess. But my Facebook page is just my name, but it's Ken Sheppard, Ken, and Sheppard. I'll tell everybody how they spell it in the Bible, Shepherd. And
come on, Bible.
Instagram handle is Kennyboy, which is KENNI _BOY_.
Yes. And where did Kenny Boy come from?
That's what my mother and father call me to this day.
I love it. Man, look, Kenneth, thank you so much for being on the show, man. You brought so much highlight, and I'm thinking we might need something from him too, in form of a podcast or something, as from a Black male teacher's point of view, how to work with our children as well. Maybe something joint. That would be really, really hot and good. Just let me know. Jonathan, how are you? I was waiting for you to come on, Jonathan. So thank you all so much for being here for those who need and want help to heal and to a better version of ourselves each and every day. Definitely. Jonathan is also an educator and everything. Courtney, we appreciate y'all, all y'all's talents. Stay motivated and encouraged. Listen, thank you so much for your support in there. Jerron, you know how we do, brother. And Jerron, I got to reach out to you anyway. Listen, we thank you so much. Thank you guys for tuning in. As we look at this challenging situation called ADHD, we want to make sure that you do not have to continue, and our children do not have to continue to secretly suffer in silence in the shadow of shame. But we are there to advocate for them. As Alana has clearly said, ADHD is a superpower. What we have to do is help our children take all that amazing, wonderful energy, all that amazing creativity that they have. We don't want to squash it, but we want to encourage them, because that's our next presidents. Those are our next creators. Those are our next inventors. Those are our future teachers. Those are our future lawyers. Listen, we don't want to squash the creativity, but we want to raise it to the next level. And how do we do that? By empowering not only our children, but we want to empower you as well. So on the Mental Health Matters with Marty show, thank you so much. And so many have reached out and says, Marty, what are the resources and how do we connect? We want to give you some resources on here. Listen, if you are experiencing any type of mental health crisis or anything, you can always text crisis to 741-741. And then there are some other resources that you can look at as well. You can definitely go on Psychology Today, look for therapists. You can do for therapy for Black men. That's a beautiful and wonderful resource, goodtherapy.com. And if you're in the Southern California area, or likewise, you can always contact marcelconsulting.com as well. And any of those resources will be there to support you in this journey. In this, we also want you to please check out our website at mentalhealthmarty.com, where you will find merchandise and other items to support you in your mental health journey. Please check out our shop website. And I'm so excited. We have our journal, Stop the Stinking Thinking Journal, on there as well. So please check that out. And then, of course, one of my favorites is Black Mental Health Matters. And you will see that Black Men Matter is highlighted. We have that in the form of a t-shirt and also a hoodie. As we are approaching the holiday season, what a wonderful gift to give. And then also, we are relaunching for our next season of Mental Health Matters with Marty podcast. Check us out mid-October as I'm dropping some amazing new podcasts on there. If you are a Apple listener, please leave us a review and give us a 5-star rating. And also become an I Matter member of Mental Health Matters with Marty by texting I Matter to 855-717-1272. Again, we want to thank you for joining us for this amazing edition of Mental Health Matters with Marty, featuring none other than Miss Alana Moore and Kenneth Sheppard. In this journey called life, we don't want you to continue to secretly suffer in silence in the shadow of shame, but y'all know how I say it each week. We want you to speak up, speak out, and live. And then always remember to enjoy your life. We'll see you tomorrow evening with Dr. Margarita Story. Take care. Have a good one.